What's going on, you guys? It's Rahul here, back again with another video, and as you guys can tell from the title, I'm here with another NBA mock draft, and this time we got my NBA mock draft 2.0, and I do want to make a few disclaimers before this video does get started. First off, this is not going to be my final mock draft. I'm going to have a mock draft 3.0. That will be my final one. That should come out a day or two before the draft. Second off, there may be trades in this video, so keep an eye out for trades. And along with that, the way I'm going to be making these picks is it's going to be a mix of who I think the team will take in real life and who I would take. And along with that, I'm only going to be doing the lottery, so that's going to be picks 1 through 14. And then finally, this will be a variation of my NBA mock draft 1.0, since I want to make this sort of different. And I also do want to say, of course, like the video if you enjoyed it, it really helps out the channel. And also, make sure to subscribe if you guys are new and enjoy this type of content so you don't miss out on any new videos like this. Plus, we're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and once we hit our goal, I'm finally going to do a face reveal. But without further ado, I want to get this video started. And with the first overall pick, the Detroit Pistons select Cade Cunningham, a point guard out of Oklahoma State. Look, I nearly did a mock trade here since there are rumors the Pistons might trade this pick, but no, we're not going to be trading this pick. The Pistons, they're going to do the obvious thing. They're going to stay here, and they are going to be taking Cade Cunningham. I mean, he's the consensus #1 guy. I'm going to save you some time and just, move on with this segment. Cade Cunningham, you're going to Detroit. With the second overall pick, the Houston Rockets select Evan Mobley, a big man out of USC. Now, the Houston Rockets, they could use some better rim protection, since as good as a player of Christian Wood is not amazing when it comes to protecting the rim, and Evan Mobley, he is really good defensively. He provides great versatility on both sides of the court. He can shoot the ball pretty well, so that adds some offensive versatility, and along with that, he's pretty mobile for a big man, and he can, not only to protect the paint, but he can also switch on to guards, and he can guard smaller and faster players. However, he is a pretty raw prospect due to the fact that he's not a very strong guy, so I mean, he could definitely struggle against guys like Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic, so he will need some time to develop, his strength and all, but if he can develop his strength, Evan Mobley, he is gonna be a scary player in the NBA. And with the third overall pick, the Cleveland Cavaliers select Jalen Green, a shooting guard out of the G League Ignite. The Cavaliers, in my opinion, I mean, it looks like they will be taking the best guy available, and honestly, I don't think that's a bad strategy at all. Jalen Green, he is a really good scorer. I mean, that's really what he is. I mean, he's a very good scorer. Now, I will say he does have issues outside of his scoring. First off, he can be a pretty streaky shooter, so he will need to be a much more consistent shooter if he wants to be a really good NBA player. Along with that, his defense, it's not amazing. I mean, he definitely can be a much better defender, but I mean, he's not amazing on defense, so we will have to improve that. And his playmaking, it's not amazing. But Jalen Green, he is still pretty good. And I mean, Cleveland, they could, use a little bit of help on defense. I mean, they got pretty good offense, but Jalen Green, I mean, I think him to the Cavaliers is not a bad move at all. And with the fourth overall pick, the Toronto Raptors select Jalen Suggs, a point guard out of Gonzaga. The Toronto Raptors, I mean, it looks like Jalen Suggs is going to be a lock to go to Toronto. I mean, Jalen Suggs, he's a great player. He can play the 1, he can play the 2, and he's a really good combo guard. Along with that, Jalen Green, he's really good on defense. He's very good passing the ball, and he's great finishing at the rim. However, I must say that his shooting, it's pretty inconsistent, but he still has really good upside. And if he can improve his shooting and be a much more consistent shooter, then Toronto might have found a great Kyle Lowry replacement, and they could find a good franchise player in Jalen Suggs. And with the fifth overall pick, the Orlando Magic select Scotty Barnes, a forward out of Florida State. Scotty Barnes is amazing defensively, and along with that, he's really good when it comes to the playmaking department, and he can finish at the cup. However, I will say, despite the fact that he is a good playmaker and he can finish at the rim well, his offensive game overall could use some work, since he's not a very good shooter, and but then again, like a defensive front court of Jonathan Isaac and Scotty Barnes would be really good, and Scotty Barnes, he still has a lot of potential. And if he can be a much more consistent shooter, then Scotty Barnes is going to be a great player due to his defensive ability already, and he can also play make and finish at the rim. And I mean, that's kind of all I have to say for this pick. And with the 6th overall pick, the Oklahoma City Thunder select Jonathan Kuminga, a forward out of the G League Ignite. Jonathan Kuminga, like Scotty Barnes, is amazing on defense. He can guard the 1, he can guard the 2, he can guard the 3, he can guard the 4. Now 5s, I mean, not really, I guess, but I mean, he's an amazing defensive player. That's the point. However, his offensive game, on the other hand, I mean, it's not exactly amazing, alright? His offense definitely needs some work. He's not great when it comes to, playmaking. He's not, much of like a scorer, he's not an amazing scorer, and I mean, his shooting is also not amazing. However, if he can develop a much better offensive game and at least be a pretty decent offensive player, then Jonathan Kuminga could be an absolute beast with his amazing defensive ability and, of course, a much improved offensive ability. And honestly, I do think the Thunder will give him time to develop, since it looks like right now the Thunder, they just want, they just want to rebuild right now. I mean, him and Luke Dort, if they stay together, that would be scary defensively. And with the 7th overall pick, the Golden State Warriors select Davion Mitchell, a point guard out of Baylor. Now, I really considered, having a mock trade right here, but I really couldn't, find any, realistic targets. So I decided to have Golden State, stay put here. And I really wanted to go with someone different, but I really just couldn't think of anyone better than Davion Mitchell. Davion Mitchell, man, I mean, he's very NBA ready. He played 4 years in college. Well, he did redshirt 1 year, so technically just 3 years, but he's a very NBA ready prospect. Now there are some concerns with his scouting profile and all. First off, his wingspan, it's not very long, so that could mean that his defense won't be as good in the NBA as it was in college. And along with that, his free throw percentage was not very high, which means he could struggle in the NBA when it comes to his 3-point shooting. However, Davion Mitchell's still a solid all-around guard, and if he can just be that solid all-around guard that he was in college, I think that could translate very well to the NBA, and I think the Golden State Warriors want that, and he'd be a really good sixth man. Maybe there are times when he is starting, but I mean, Davion Mitchell, point is, I think him to the Warriors would be a match made in heaven. And with the 8th overall pick, the Orlando Magic select James Bouknight, a point guard / shooting guard out of Connecticut. James Bouknight, I mean, he is a kind of raw prospect, but he is still a really talented player. I think the Orlando Magic might give him some time, considering the fact that I think they're really just trying to load up on young talent right now. He can score the ball very well. He has, playmaking potential. Right now, his playmaking, it definitely has, it has its issues, and it could use some work, but he definitely has potential. And along with that, his shooting ability, it is also, kind of inconsistent. I mean, his shooting ability, it is kind of raw, but, James Bouknight, he still has potential to become a good shooter. And along with that, his defense also does have, his potential to be very good. Now, overall, he is a very raw prospect, but James Bouknight, he's a great player, and he's a talented kid. And with the 9th overall pick, the Sacramento Kings select Keon Johnson, a shooting guard / small forward out of Tennessee. Keon Johnson to Sacramento would be sort of perfect. And then again, I wanted to go with someone different, but I just couldn't think of, I don't know, man. I just think that Keon Johnson to Sacramento is just too perfect, and I just couldn't think of anyone else, better to put here. Keon Johnson is really good on defense, and but like a lot of good defensive prospects, his offensive game definitely could use some work. I mean, his shooting, it was not very good, so he definitely has to improve his shooting. He really does have to. But if he can improve his shooting, then I think Keon Johnson would be a very valuable contributor to the Sacramento Kings. And the Sacramento Kings defense last season, it was the worst in the league, if I'm not wrong, but it was really bad. And Keon Johnson, he could be a big step in, helping improve it to, not being one of the worst in the NBA. And with the 10th overall pick, the New Orleans Pelicans select Corey Kispert, a small forward / power forward out of Gonzaga. If the Pelicans do stay put here, I think they should go after NBA ready guys, considering that they want to make a playoff push and just try and get into the playoffs, considering the fact that Zion Williamson, his party, well, I mean, his family is not very happy with, what the management has done, so they should do what they can to make a playoff push. And Corey Kispert, I think he would be he'd be kind of perfect. Corey Kispert, he's a really NBA ready prospect. I believe he did play 4 years in college, so that's nice. And along with that, he has a good 3-and-D skill set. I mean, that's just gonna be a really good NBA skill set to have, since in the modern NBA, you can never have enough of these, 3-and-D wings. I mean, Corey Kispert, he's a really good player. Now, I will say, his shot creation, could use some work, but I mean, then again, I don't think he will be asked to create his own shot a lot, and I mean, if he can improve that, that would be awesome for the New Orleans Pelicans. And with the 11th overall pick, the Charlotte Hornets select Kai Jones, a power forward / center out of Texas. Kai Jones is a really raw prospect, and I did want to vary it a little bit, but I don't know, man. I just feel like Kai Jones to the Hornets would be, I don't know, man. It just seems kind of, like a really good pick. Kai Jones, he has the potential to be a really good shooter. He showed that, in the mid-range and sort of from 3. He definitely showed flashes of a 3-point shot, and he also has great athleticism and really good offensive versatility. In his rim protection, it really isn't that bad. However, what makes him raw is the fact that, like a lot of, prospects, like Evan Mobley, he is a skinny player, and he is definitely going to need to put on some strength if he really wants to, deal with the big guys like Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic. But I definitely think he can put on some strength, and if Charlotte is willing to give him some time, then Kai Jones could be a very scary player in the future. And with the 12th overall pick, the San Antonio Spurs select Jalen Johnson, a small forward out of Duke. Jalen Johnson, I mean, like a lot of prospects, he is pretty raw, but he has really high potential, and I think the Spurs could really just use a franchise player who has really high potential. He has amazing athleticism, he has great playmaking, he's like a point forward, and his defense and his shooting, they are both, pretty raw and kind of inconsistent, but if he can improve that, then Jalen Johnson, he'd be a very good player. He can score the ball well, he can make pretty well, and he has really good athleticism, and his shooting and defense, they'd make him an even better player, and he could possibly be San Antonio's franchise player. And with the 13th overall pick, the Indiana Pacers select Moses Moody, a shooting guard out of Arkansas. Moses Moody, even though he's, not the oldest rookie out there, he can contribute right away due to the fact that, he has a classic skill set that that's just amazing to have in the modern NBA. Of course, I'm talking about a 3-and-D, skill set, and he can shoot very well in the mid-range, and he can create, create his own shot in the mid-range area. However, he definitely could use, some work when it comes to creating his own shot from downtown. But Moses Moody, he's a really good player, and I mean, right away he can contribute, and eventually if he does, put in the work, he can definitely develop, his skills a lot more, and he could be a really good player for Indiana down the line. And with the 14th overall pick, and with the final pick in this mock draft, the Golden State Warriors select Franz Wagner, a forward out of Michigan. Franz Wagner, he can contribute right off the jump since he has a good 3-and-D skill set, like a lot of prospects in this draft, and he also has some playmaking ability, so that is very nice. Now, I will say, his shot creation, it is not very good. However, in Golden State, I don't think he's going to be asked to create his own shot a lot, so that's going to be, really good for him. But if he can put in the work, that would be, that'd give him like a future piece to work with. And Golden State, if they want to win right now, hey, Franz Wagner, he would not be a bad piece at all. But with that being said, that will be the end of today's video. If you guys enjoyed, hit that like button as it really helps out the channel, and also make sure to subscribe if you guys are new and enjoy this type of content so you don't miss out on any new videos like this. Plus, we're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and once we hit our goal, I'm finally going to do a face reveal. But with that being said, I'm out, you guys.